The world doesn't think that the gospel can change your life, but we know that it can. And that's why we want you to hear these stories of transformation, stories of freedom, people getting free from sin and healed from sin because of Jesus. This is Death to Life.
After that, I think I got really legalistic, and Diana wasn't ready to be legalistic. And even though I never was like, hey, we need to do these things now. Like, I'm saying we need to do these things. It was more like, hey, this is what I'm choosing to do. This is how I'm choosing to, I'm not saying don't watch these shows. I'm just saying that if you want to watch these shows, I'm going to go into the other room. Like that kind of stuff. But it wasn't received that way. And so I think it definitely caused conflict.
Welcome to the Death to Life podcast. My name is Richard Young, and today's episode is with Micah Modrell. He has been trying to get me to come to Oklahoma and play basketball with him. But before I could go to Oklahoma and play basketball with him, we had to get this podcast episode. And I love Micah's heart. He's just so real. And he's been a blessing to me for a long time. And I love his story. I love his family. And I think you'll be blessed to hear his testimony. It's kind of went to one ditch, and Jesus brought him out. So this is Micah Modrell. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Buckle up and strap in. This is a good one. Yeah, man. I say this on a lot of episodes, but this is definitely one we've been circling for a few years. I don't know if it's been a couple years. And you're kind of like the Godfather of Oklahoma. You're like...
That's too much.
The one who's made it happen. Like your background, kind of how this message got to a few more people, but I haven't heard your whole story. I think I heard a little of it, but we got Micah, the baller Modrell, who tried to get me to bring my basketball shoes to Oklahoma. Next time. I have retired from basketball, but Micah, man, where are we going to start? Where are we going to go with your story, man?
I don't know. Where do you want to start? I don't know how to.
Where did you grow up in Oklahoma, man?
Grew up in Oklahoma.
Born and
raised.
And so you grew up in a Christian home.
Grew up in a Christian home. Grew up in an Adventist home. So my dad was from Adventist Mecca. He was born in Loma Linda and went to church there and everything like that. And then he left the church for 28 years or something wild, and moved to Oklahoma in the 80s. And then within the last mid 80s, started getting back into going to church. My mom, mid 80s, was pretty much raised out of church, but was invited to a prophecy seminar, very, very classic story. And kind of became an Adventist. And so we have him coming back into the church, and her just coming into the church. And then they met, and then got together, got married, had me.
So what kind of, there's a lot of different kinds of Adventism. What kind of Adventism did you grow up in?
I don't know, because I think that I think my dad had a lot of conservative tendencies. And so to describe that a little bit more, I have two sisters I have three sisters that are older than me, but I have two that are much older than me from his first marriage. Uh, and even though he wasn't in the church, he still made sure they went to church and had to be vegetarian and all those cultural Adventist things that things have. And so there was definitely a legalistic vibe from that perspective. But I was allowed to watch TV. I was allowed to play Pokemon. I was allowed to do things. I was allowed to do a lot of stuff. So it wasn't heavily restrictive at home, but a lot of his ideas and a lot of things he would gravitate to would be fairly conservative. I don't know else to describe it. And then my parents got divorced when I was 8, and then my mom stopped going to church. And so then like that immediately made like my mom's house the fun house and my dad's house the not as fun house. But
That's not funny that your parents got divorced at 8, but the idea that the people who love God is the not fun house, or the people who are going to church is the not fun house.
yeah, I mean, I just, and again, I don't want to like portray it as like it was really bad because it wasn't. Like we'd go to the movies like every Saturday night after sundown, and we would ride it because I would go basically go to his house on the weekend, and then during the week I was um at my mom's. And so really there was just it went from having like pretty much being able to do almost anything I wanted within reason, and then like there's a little bit more restrictions, like don't turn on the TV on Sabbath or something like that, or make sure it's just nature shows or whatever.
So was
But
God a restrictive God in growing up then in that sense? Like
so like
in that way?
I've thought about this question a lot just listening to the podcast because this happens. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago I realized I had a memory of like who as a kid I thought God was. And so like in 5th or 6th grade, um, my mom dated a couple people. We lived with one of her boyfriends for a little bit. They broke up. We got an apartment, and then she's like, "Hey, we're moving back in with this guy." And like and I'm like 5th, 6th grade, and that like he wasn't he wasn't abusive. He was just kind of a jerk sometimes, and it like for that was enough for me to be like, I don't want to be there. And I remember just having like a breakdown. And like I had like Dragon Ball Z posters on my walls. I had music I probably shouldn't have been listening to. And I remember just like purging, ripping stuff off the walls, just like having like a really emotional moment as a 5th or 6th grader, and like pleading with God, like, I'll be good if we don't have to go back to this place. And so like it, and so I did, as you know, as an adult looking back on that, I realized like I had my relationship with God, I thought was predicated on my behavior, or God's ability to do good things for me, or to love me, or God's ability to want to fix the situation I'm in was predicated on, am I doing the things I know I'm supposed to be doing?
How was that going in your mind, do you think?
It was going pretty bad. Like I was raised in church school, raised in church. Um, Pretty early on, like 7th, 8th, 9th grade, I realized that like how easy it can be to like switch, like unconsciously switch how the way you interact and the way you talk, depending on what setting you're in. Like if I went to church, I didn't have to actively think about not swearing. You just don't. If I went to school, you didn't have to actively think about not swearing or telling jokes or whatever until you're just by yourself with your friends. And so I think even as early as like 4th grade, and now my son just graduated 4th grade, so it's like no, not graduated, but just got out of 4th grade. So as like a parent, like I'm thinking, but like it's amazing how early on into life you can get into the habit of living like a dual life, where like you're this way with one people, you're this way with another set of people, and like what does it take? Like what happens when those worlds collide? I don't know if that answers your question.
No, that answers my question. So you were hoping that one day you could, like, God could be pleased with you, or you're just like, I just need to sharpen this thing up and get this thing better. And is that kind of like your experience from that age?
I mean, so I grew up in church, knowing all the stories. I have a really I would what I'd describe a really aggressive conscience. So like if I feel like I've done something bad, like it really bothers me and it really really messes with me. And so like as a kid, like when I would get in trouble or when I would get in a situation like and I knew I did the wrong thing, like I would feel that really hard. Um and so I think again, I think I wasn't a wild kid, I don't think by any means, and I would always make good decisions and all that kind of stuff. But like there was definitely just like that secondary like want to do these things that I think are more fun,
Yeah.
which can't, yeah.
So what
I don't know.
happened, man, going into high school?
High school was fun. High school was good. Really, I mean, went to church school the whole time. I think I had ten kids in my freshman class. Graduated with 2 kids in my senior class. I get to tell people that I was second in my class, which is always good.
There
Um,
was one other person?
yeah, when we graduated. Um, so that was cool. Pretty fun high school experience. When I was in this is sad, but when I was in 10th grade, my dad passed away,
Oh.
and so then it was just, obviously at that point I just stayed at my mom's house. But I had a really good stepdad that stepped in and um, really did a good job like filling that role. Um, yeah, I don't know. High school was wild. Definitely got into drugs and alcohol a little, not, I don't know, too early. I think like somewhere between eighth and ninth grade is when stuff got a little bit crazy. Um, but no, I guess it was, yeah, no, yes, final answer. Um, but like it was definitely more of just like a once in a time once in a while thing than it was like a permanent thing. I never had like the connections to get the things, so I only had to like um I could only get access to those things if I was with somebody that had access to those things.
So with your aggressive conscience, did that mess with you, or were at that point where you're like, nah, this makes me feel good?
I think like we have what I think I've heard other people call it like those like um summer camp like spiritual moments. There's like a phrase for it. I can't remember what it's called. Basically like generally speaking it was fine.
Like a spiritual
Uh,
high or something like that?
Yeah, but when I would get into like a spiritual high or I'd get into like this moment of conviction, it would just hit me really, really hard. And it kind of like the thing I described earlier, where it was just like purge, shut it down, promise not to do it again, this, that, and the other. And then from there, like, be good for a little bit and then uh kind of just fall back into it, I guess.
Hmm. So what age were you baptized?
I was baptized at camp meeting at like 11 or 12-ish.
Yeah.
Baptized at 11 or 12-ish. And then like I remember even like because I went to camp meeting like every year for like 5 or 6 years straight. Um, and I remember even like subsequent camp meetings, like having that spiritual high, like really being convicted by the messages. And then them like making a call for baptism and just being like, well, I was already baptized. And so that would be kind of the end of it. Um, but yeah, baptized 11 or 12.
So by the time you're a senior, are you still kind of participating with the drugs and alcohol? Had it slowed down? Had it picked up? What was the
So
plan?
it's so it's slow. It's slow. So we meaning a group of us got in trouble like in ninth grade, and so it pretty much shut down for me for like 10 and most of 11th grade, and then it sparked back up. Um, and then when I graduated high school, um, my wife and so I graduated high school in May and got married in June. My wife and I had decided that we
Hold up, hold up.
wanted.
You graduated from high school and got married in June?
Yes, this is
Was your
2000.
wife the other person in your senior class?
No, no, she's 3 months older than me, but she's a grade ahead of me.
So she was a freshman in college or right out of high school then?
Yes, it was kind of I was actually like literally like last month we were at a high school graduation, and I during my high school graduation, since there were only two of us, we both got to talk and we both just like cried the whole time. It was a crazy emotional moment, but like um during my portion of the speech, I said like told everybody that Diane and I were going to get married, and like it wasn't until like last month that I was listening to other high schoolers talk, and I was like, man, if one of those kids said that they were getting married, I would feel like that was the most wild, absurd thing I've ever heard in my life. So it was just interesting to like have that different perspective now. Um,
Were you like super grown up, or were like in your mind, or do you think like you actually did have some maturity to
so
be able to get married?
we we started being boyfriend and girlfriend end of my seventh grade, end of her eighth grade, and we dated pretty much from then through high school, minus a short 8 month period. But and so for us, it was just kind of like, should we get married? Yeah, let's get married. That's fine. We like what like we're here, we're together, we've been together like 4 or 5 years now. Like that's just kind of like let's just do that. Definitely there was some both coming from single parent homes, there was definitely some dysfunction in both of our houses, and so it kind of just like I feel like that like as an adult looking back on it, I feel like that kind of just like pushed us together more. Um, and like we are just like yeah, let's just do that. So like yeah, graduated high school in May, moved out and got married in June. Uh, Turned 19 in July, and then started college in August.
I don't know how old you are now, but I wouldn't be surprised if you've been married for 25 years. How long have you been married now?
Next month, no, end of this month, 17 years.
Okay. I've been married for 17 years, but I got married when I was 24.
Yeah,
So that's what's up, man. How did it go getting married and doing all that?
it was fun. So I mean, it was cool. We got married. We were both working at Panera at the time, and then we continued working at Panera. Went to school, so we were working full time.
Did you
And
get like some comps on that strawberry poppy seed salad?
and yes, you could eat when you worked at Panera. You got like a 75% discount, and it was still affordable. Even back then, it was still affordable. So like you could eat lunch there for like $1.50.
You know what? I'm gonna confess something on the podcast I've never said.
Uh-oh.
I've hated on Panera for most of my adult life, but I actually really like it. It's tasty, man, but it is
We
kind of pricey.
it is if you like when I have like a vivid memory of like the you pick two sign, which is like you get a soup and a half sandwich or salad.
Yeah.
And I remember it being like 540, either 5.49 or 7.49. And like now if you now they have like premium items versus not, or it's like if you pick the wrong two items, like you could have like a $20 you pick two. It's it's absurd.
It's highway robbery. But
It's
you still like the food there. You vouch for it?
so we'll do Panera like 3 or 4 times a year, and then we will supplement with McAllister's when we don't want to spend $1 billion.
You
You
only
guys
go
have
to
me.
Panera 3 to 4 times a year?
I mean, I'm just saying like once every 2 or 3 months, so I feel like that breaks down to 3 or 4 times a year, and
Okay.
it's just for the broccoli cheddar soup.
Yeah, that broccoli cheddar soup, man, I don't know what they do with it, but it's delicious.
Comes in frozen.
That's
Warm it up.
I didn't that she shouldn't have told me that. All right,
Sorry.
so you're working at Panera, you're just
Yep.
married.
Going to school full time. We started off both being wanting to be police officers, and so we were like all of our classes were the same. And then when they would be like doing roll call, there would be like Micah Modrell, Diana Modrell, and then they'd be like, "Are you guys married?" We're like, yeah. Okay, cool. We only had to buy one book per class. That was cool. Um,
At the police academy?
so I don't know if this is like everywhere or just Oklahoma, but you have to be 21 to be a police officer. And so there's a school called OSU OKC, so it's like a community college that's sponsored by Oklahoma State University, and they have a police science program. And so you basically do everything that you would do over 2 years, what you would do in police academy. But then when you get to the end, you still have to do police academy. If you go to like a big like Oklahoma City Police Department. If you went to like a small town, maybe you don't have to as long as you're CLEAT certified. But so we started doing that, and after a couple of years of that, realized that hey, I'm gonna have to do all this stuff anyway, so let me like pick something else to get a degree in just in case. And then I picked math, and then I stuck with math.
You're
And
like
then
you're like instead of going to protect and serve, I'm gonna crunch these numbers.
yeah, I knew I wanted to do something businessy because I would say, "Oh, I'm doing math," and they'd be, "You want to be a teacher?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want to be a teacher." And then realized that you know getting shot at's kind of scary, so I don't really. I think I'm just gonna get a regular job instead. But
So
I
you got a
really,
math degree. What did your wife get a degree in?
she jumped a couple majors a couple times. I think she switched to psychology, and then she switched to art, and then engineering. But she landed with a bachelor's in management information systems, so MIS. So it's like half math or half computers, half business. And
Oh,
so
nice.
it's pretty solid.
So what happened next? What was the you guys still going to church, still loving the Lord? Now that you're on your own, how did that work?
So I mean, we still went to church. I feel like we would go to church just for church. We'd skip like all the early morning stuff most of the time. When we first got married, even like before we got married, but when we first got married, probably the first year or so we got married, we went to a Spanish church. And so I don't speak Spanish. And so, and so
Why'd you pick us? Because your wife speaks Spanish.
my wife speaks Spanish and we had started going there before we got married. And then the pastor at that church did marry us and, which was cool. And so we went to Spanish church for like a year or so. And then when we were going to school, one of the professors at the school, he was the history professor, was a lay pastor for an Adventist church. And so after we like took the classes we were going to take for him, we were like, oh, let's just go to his church because he's a good teacher. So like maybe like he's probably a good preacher. And so we transferred to an English speaking church, probably like year two ish of marriage.
Did you did you get pretty good at understanding Spanish going to that Spanish church?
So when we were going to the Spanish church, I was taking Spanish in college, and then at Panera, I was working on the line with ladies that were Spanish speakers. And so like in that moment, like I feel like I definitely like learned a whole lot and could like speak whatever the Panera version of restaurant Spanish
Yeah,
is, like
restaurant
asking for
Spanish is
things.
a little different than just regular Spanish.
Yeah. And so I definitely understand. I understand a lot, but definitely not good at speaking it as far as like remembering what I'm like the remembering vocabulary and that sort of stuff or conjugating is also hard. But like we went to the Spanish church like last week, and like Diana, anytime we go to a Spanish church, Diana will like start to try to translate for me. I'm like, no, it's okay, don't worry about it. First off, it looks I don't want her talking to my ear because it's like it's weird. But then the second part is like I kind of like to just like try to see between the verses and the words I know, like how much of it I can get on my own,
That's cool.
which is not a lot.
You're like, I'm trying to figure out how much I know of this, and it's very not very, very little. All right.
Yeah.
So you're going to an English speaking church. You're still involved in the church. Drugs and alcohol still a thing in your life, or did marriage kind of like not about that?
But drugs, no. Occasional alcohol, but not a lot. Um, not a lot, but definitely like started like that's probably when uh pornography probably became more of a thing.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, no drugs, occasional alcohol. But even then, like I feel like we would go through phases where we maybe a couple weekends here and there, and then we'd be like, okay, we don't need to be doing this, so we're done.
Yeah.
And then we were done until we weren't done.
And then pornography kind of just snuck in, just like it sneaks in all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, yeah, but keep going. What happened?
Worked at Panera. Got to I don't know how much story to tell. I'm just gonna talk. You just interrupt me
Yeah,
whenever you
man.
want to interrupt
I'll
me.
tell you when I don't want to hear it anymore.
Worked at Panera for a while. Uh, one of the customers that worked there um, was like the CEO of an oil and gas company, and so interacted with him a lot. And then after I switched to math, I told him once I was like, "Hey, I heard that with a math degree you can work at oil and gas company. Is that true?" He said, "Yeah. When you graduate, let me know. And give me your resume. We'll get you an interview." And I said, okay, cool. But then like 2 weeks later, he was like, hey, you want a job? And I was like, I got like 18 months before I'm out of school. He's like, ah, it's fine. That's here. Give me my card. And so then I wrote a resume and I'm sure it was terrible now that I'm thinking back to it, because I remember spending like 6 hours and I submitted it. Went in for an interview, got a job there. And so then I worked at that place during the week, 2 or 3 days a week, then would go to class, and then I'd still work at Panera on Sundays and holidays if the other place was closed, and then Diana worked at Panera, and then did that from like mid 2011, graduated college 2013, and then went full time at that company, um, and then Diana quit Panera, And then she quit Panera. She's going to focus up and finish up in school because she had changed majors a couple times, so she was a little bit behind where I was. Um, and then like I think 13. So then like within 6 months, 6 to 8 months, like she got pregnant with Isaac, which is our son, our first kid. And then so she took a break from school, and then had a kid, and then she went back, finished school. And yeah, it was cool. It was fun.
Life was going pretty solid. Did you feel
Yeah.
God was you were good with God? With like who was God at this point in your life?
God was, who was God at this point? Am I like, again, we were going to church, but like, we would definitely like, we were very susceptible to like waking up in the morning at like 9:30 or 10 o'clock and be like, I don't think we're going to go to church today. It's like, yeah, that's fine. We don't have to go to church today. And so that we would, routinely probably miss 2 or 3 weeks and then go for 2 or 3 weeks and then miss a week and then go for a week. And then like um, inconsistent attendance. Uh, and that was the thing though, and so I guess this is the answer to the question. I think that for me, like God was, uh, information.
Hmm.
And so like wanted to go to church, wanted to learn, wanted to hear something new, wanted to, and then I would definitely like go on my own little Bible study kicks and like try to like figure stuff out. Um, and then like getting into like 2015, 2014, 2015. So Isaac's born, and then we're still again, we're not drinking till we are. We're we're still dealing with the porn thing from time to time. Uh, and just not really living a life focused on God, just kind of living a life focused on living and having fun. And then like once Isaac started to get to like one, I remember like even like when he was first born, like I remember how I was read Bible stories, I would read him Bible stories. But then it got to the point where I was just like, hey, like we're in charge, or at least for me, I'm in charge of like raising another human and like teaching this human what we should believe and how we should behave. And so like that's what sparked for me like I need to figure this out for myself. Like, I need to figure out, like, I was raised an Adventist. Do I want to stay an Adventist? I know I believe in God. And so, like, that coupled with we got a new pastor at our church that the sermons that he were preaching, like, really had me, like, thinking. And so it kind of got me on the path of kind of studying for myself. But again, for me, like God was information. Getting closer to God was being more right than the other people around me, if that makes sense.
Oh, that makes sense. uh, being more right than the people around you. Was the being more right than the people around you also adding a benefit to the way you were living, or was it just I'm glad we're right about this?
I mean, I would definitely like be convicted about watching a certain show or a certain set of media or playing a certain kind of game and those kinds of things, and that definitely like it that that turned into like me like not doing those things anymore, or doing like a similar purge of like getting rid of a whole bunch of stuff, like even from like when I did when I was a kid. um but it just very much was like, hey, like I got really excited about trying to prove all the different ways why my church is right and why other churches were wrong.
Hmm. So keep going. What happened after that?
Then after that, uh we yeah, I think I got really legalistic, and um Diana wasn't ready to be legalistic. And even though like I never was like, hey, we need to do these things now. Like I'm saying we need to do these things. It was more like, hey, this is what I'm choosing to do. This is how I'm choosing to, like, I'm not saying don't watch these shows. I'm just saying that if you want to watch these shows, I'm going to go into the other room. Like that kind of stuff. But it it wasn't received that way, and so I think it definitely caused conflict.
Why'd you get super
Uh,
legalistic?
going back to like when I got to the point where like it was important for me to realize what I believe in so that I could teach those things to my
Yeah.
son. That manifested itself in, or I found like the resources I came across were very conservative and very legalistic resources. And it was just like, oh, like this is actually how you're supposed to live holy. This is actually what it means, like working through sanctification or whatever. Like I need to manage and curate my habits and behaviors so that I can be saved and so that I can teach uh, these things to my son because we just had one kid at the time, uh, so that he can also be saved. And then I need to anybody that's willing to listen to me around me, I need them to know that these things are important too, so that they can also be saved. Salvation was very much a roller coaster back then for me, meaning like, hey, you're saved until you mess up, and then you're not, and then you gotta figure it out and feel bad enough to say you're sorry, and then you're saved again until you're not. And yeah,
I know what that's like. So,
it's
were you saved?
depending on the day, depending on the moment.
Had you pretty much gotten a handle on the pornography thing at this point?
I feel like in a lot of ways it got worse.
You know why?
Why?
The legalism, I think, makes it worse, man.
I think it does.
It's not an answer.
Mm-mm. No, and then you just and then be like it doesn't fix it, and then you feel worse about it.
So then you medicate again. It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, it's not good.
No.
It's not good.
Did your
Um,
wife know about this stuff, or were you just like, I'm going to figure this out on my own and she doesn't need to know about any of this?
I I I don't think she knew. I would have to ask her. I think she had suspicions, but I don't think she knew.
Right.
Um, we've never been like, um, my technology was my technology, her technology was her technology. We never like we never went through each other's stuff or anything like that. Like we knew each other's passwords. It was fine if she wanted to go through it, she could. I mean, I definitely was covering my tracks. I mean, I think there was probably some close calls like where I didn't cover my tracks well, and she was on my phone, but she wasn't like looking for it, so it was fine.
Right.
But there was definitely like a moment where Isaac's like two-ish, and I remember we went on a drive, and then we just like went into this phase of just like confessing like all of the stuff that we were doing behind each other's backs to each other. Like
Mm.
stuff that we were doing. Like there was nothing crazy, but like stuff that we were doing that were violating our consciences. I don't know, like the Holy Spirit was working. I don't know if we were feeling extra guilty that day from the legalism. I don't know what it was, but we went through this thing where we literally just told each other everything. And like, um, that was like really good for our marriage.
Mm.
Um, so like confession's a big deal. Even just to each other, not, I mean, obviously it's a big deal to God, like doing it to God and stuff, but like to each other was pretty cool. Um, and so somewhere in there, do you have any questions? You want me to move on? Sorry.
No, keep going.
Okay, yeah. So somewhere in there, um, I came across some resources that again, like hit media, music, really, really hard. And so uh, like swore off music with drums, or was very uncomfortable about music with drums, very uncomfortable about rap. Um, and then somewhere in there, I went to a camp meeting a whole lot when I was a kid. But around this time we were trying to get closer to God and we're trying to do the right thing and all that stuff. We started going to camp meeting again. And uh, there is a Adventist group called the Lesser Light Collective, and they put together a CD on the book of Revelation at the time, and then they later did a CD on the book of Daniel, and so it's like songs about like those like working you through those books, and it's pretty cool. Um, but so the Daniel album came out, and I bought the album, And so they had my email. And then like a couple months later, they emailed me and they were like, "Hey, we're traveling around the country. We're going to be in the Oklahoma area around this time. Would you be interested in us coming and doing a concert?" And so like even though I was adverse to like music with drums and rap and all that kind of stuff, like it was Adventist. So like that kind of makes it okay, right? And Dinah, there's a couple songs on there Dinah really, really liked. And so I was like, all right, let's do it. And so I talked to my local church and we set up them to come out and do a concert. And um and so they came out and it was a husband and wife. His name is Lee. Um, and they stayed with us, I think 2 nights. They did the concert, really connected with them. I think I asked them some questions about music in that moment. We didn't get into like a big conversation about it, but we kind of just went back and forth for just a little bit. And during the concert, like while he's up there rapping, and so like we went to like the church we went to, um, had a lot of platinum members, a lot of
What
a lot
platinum members?
a lot of platinum members. They've been there for a while. Their hair is platinum. Um,
That's
and so
amazing.
like, even like, but he was doing these rap songs at church. But for me, like, I came to this realization. I was like, this isn't bad. Like, I don't know how else to describe it, but it was just like, the messaging in the songs is fine. Um, and it was like kind of a moment of clarity for me. And so we stayed connected. And then he was like, "Hey, man, uh, I'm on a podcast. I recorded a podcast with this guy. It's here. I'd love for you to listen to it and give me some feedback or something like that." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." So I checked it out, and so I'm listening to this podcast, and then I was like, "Man, this podcast is kind of cool. I kind of like this." And like I remember the thing that really stood out to me is on this podcast. Like I think I listened to like 6 or 7 episodes, and the guy was an Adventist, was not a pastor at the time, but he was an Adventist, but he was interviewing non-Adventist. And so like again, like for me, like being right, very important. And in a lot of ways, like learning from somebody outside of my faith tradition just like was not on the table. Because the thought process is like there's the verse that's like, if they speak not according to this word, there's no light in them, right? And so we take that and go, well, you're going to church on the wrong day. Like just there, like if we can't even get you going to church on the right day, why could anything you say be correct? Which is like super elitist and like a really terrible way to think about things. But when you're in it, you don't really realize how awful it is to think that way.
Right.
And so for me, it was just like there was part of it, like I think honestly, part of it, like I was upset that this Adventist guy was interviewing non-Adventist people, but at the same time I was like, this is really good information, like learning about like there was one guy that did something on church planting. That one stands out to me. There was a couple other ones, and so I listened to that for like 5 or 6 episodes or whatever I said earlier. And then he I turn on it goes a new episode, I turn it on, and it was the West Vibe podcast. I don't know if I said that. I don't think I
Oh,
said
you
that
didn't say
earlier.
that.
Oh yeah, it was
Wait, hold
the
on.
West.
Wes was the rapper, or Wes had interviewed the rapper?
Brett, I don't know if Wes raps. We should ask him.
I think we need to
Um,
get him on a track.
I think we should. But he was interviewing the rapper. The rapper's name was Lee G.
Lee G.
Um,
Okay. All right. All right. I just got really excited at the thought of Wes hip hopping a mic on
I
stage.
think
Sorry.
I think he could do it. He's got some swag.
Yeah.
Um, so he like, and usually it's like quick intro right into the interview. Quick intro right into the interview. This intro for this podcast was like, I don't know. It felt like forever, but it was probably like 5 to 7 minutes. But it was just like, hey, I heard this guy preaching. And there's some stuff in here that is unlike anything I've ever heard before. But before you listen to this, I just want you to promise that I'm not just throwing this out there. Like I've taken the things that he said and like really like tried to like think through them with scripture and look them up or whatever. And like, and it sounds pretty good. And so this was him interviewing Jonathan. So
Jonathan Leonardo.
Jonathan Leonardo. And so,
Man, does that
um,
podcast still exist?
I my phone's I can't look at it now, but I would expect. I don't know if he took it down. I mean, he's not making episodes, but I don't think he took it. I don't know. You'd have to ask him. We could look after.
Yeah, we'll look after.
Um, but it's an interview with Jonathan, and so one thing that I would do a lot in this at this point in my life is I would listen to sermons constantly. And like they were like, and like my favorite, not my favorite sermoners, preachers, um, they would be like 1 hour sermons or sometimes 90-minute sermons. And so I would like listen to a lot of sermons. And sometimes I'd follow along with my Bible, but most of the times I was driving or doing something, so it was just kind of just on. But I'd be really focused on it. And so I would get to the point where I could regurgitate like all these things that these people were saying that I was hearing on these sermons. But like when it came to like me actually like backing it up with scripture, that part was fairly shallow.
Yeah.
It wasn't really a thing in my life, but like I would like find a sermon, like I don't know if I have ADHD or what it is, but I would like find a speaker that I would like, and I would just listen to everything they had that I could find, like on
Hyper
YouTube or
focus.
yeah, I would listen to like, 12, 13, 15 things. There were some speakers that didn't have a lot of stuff, and I would literally like run out of their stuff on YouTube, and then I would have to wait for them to put up more stuff. And so like that was a very common practice of mine. So I listened to the Jonathan podcast, and I was like, well, let me look this guy up.
What
And
was he
so
saying? Was he saying some good stuff?
he was saying some dude. He was. I think about this a lot because he was saying a lot of good stuff, but like I've been around it for so long now, like it's hard for me to remember like what was like the thing.
Yeah.
But like I think for me, I mean, thinking back and just, following the trend of what we've talked about today, like for me, like our like God loving us having nothing to do with our behavior, I think that was a big deal for me at the time. And then understanding like that striving to be good or striving to do good um, isn't actually how you do good.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm sure I'm not using his words that he used, but this is how I think about it now, or how I've related to it now. And just this, I feel like we like the word freedom is overused a lot, but or not. I feel like we use it a lot in this community, and it's just like so. I feel like sometimes we take it for granted, but like actually like seeing or hearing freedom is just wild. And so like the podcast was good. So then I YouTubed him and came across like the first set of PBC Life videos. Like this is before there was a second set of videos. Like so this was like 2019, 2018, 2019. I think it's
Yeah, probably
2019.
before I even knew about anything about it. Okay, I wanted to give you guys, we're going to take a real quick break from the pod, but I wanted to give you guys something that I had just heard. Someone based off of the algorithm saw something that Justin Koo put up. They came to our Bible studies, and within probably about 6 weeks, we're walking in newness of life, walking in freedom, believing what Jesus had accomplished for them. So if you have time, if you hear these episodes, but you want more meat and potatoes, come to the Bible studies. There's one on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Every other week we have Internet Church on Friday. We have one on Sunday. So come and join us for the Bible studies. They are awesome. And also, man, keep this thing with us going. Go to lovereality.org/give and donate so we can keep on producing these episodes, keep on producing Internet Church. It's been a huge blessing in so many people's lives. That's lovereality.org/give. Just wanted to tell you guys that. And let's get back into the episode.
So find this guy, find Jonathan, watch the videos. Like I think like the first time anybody hears the prodigal son sermon, it just like wrecks their world and the way they view things, and it just like really introduces them to like God in a way they've never, or that at least in a way that I never noticed before or knew him before. And it was really good. I don't even know how else to describe it. I just think of a story though, or I just thought of like a contrast. And so, um, before Jonathan, before understanding the gospel the way I understand it now, um, the tr I'm not like the traditional um, method of Adventist evangelism. And again, I'm not saying this is like what they say you should do, but this is what it boils down to in a lot of places. It's just like uh, either if you're one-on-one studying or if you're doing a thing at your church and bringing people to it, like it's very focused on let me show you from the Bible all the places that we're right and all the places wherever you go is wrong.
Hmm.
And so like, and then there's a hyper focus on like Bible prophecy. And so like for me, it was just like, how can I be right? And I also need to make sure that prophecy is important. And if I didn't hear a sermon that talked about prophecy, that talked about Revelation 13 or 14, uh, or didn't step on my toes for something I was doing wrong, it wasn't a good sermon. Like it became an exercise in, I think this is the word, spiritual masochism,
Hmm.
where like if I don't feel like I'm a dirty sinner at the end of your sermon for something that I did wrong, uh, you didn't do a good job. But again, it's not a good place to be. Uh, but so uh, hyper focused on prophecy and being in doctrines and being right about whatever the thing is. Um, so I have this moment. So I have three sisters that are older than me. They're all half sisters. And I have one brother that's 14, 15 years younger than me, half brother. And, when he got into high school age, um, my stepdad passed away uh, in 2018. And so then it was just him and my mom, I think his last 3 or 4 years of high school, maybe all of high school, actually, maybe eight. I think he was in eighth grade when his dad passed away. And so we went out, I took him somewhere, we went and did something. And then on the way home, he was just like stressed out. He didn't want to go home. Him and my mom had been arguing about whatever. And he was just like, I don't want to go home. This feels bad. And like, I remember like in that moment, I was like, I need to like tell him something. Like I need to share Jesus with him because he didn't go to church. He wasn't focused on that very much at all. He was raised like Bible study every night with my stepdad, but it wasn't something that he was focused on at this point in his life. And so like I was like, I need to share something. And so like in the back of my head while he's talking, like I'm praying, like, God, give me something, give me something, give me something. And like the only thing that comes to my head is just the stuff that I've been studying lately. And it was like, who's the Antichrist? And what is the mark of the beast? And how do I make sure I keep all the commandments so that I can be part of the remnant and I can go to heaven? And it was just like, none of this is helpful. Like that was like my thought process. Like, and this is again, before hearing Jonathan, like, this is not helpful at all. And so I remember, sharing with him a bunch of empty platitudes, but like nothing. So I should have told that story earlier. But so fast forward, hear wave one, watched it 2 or 3 times, I think. Read in the Bible too. Didn't just regurgitate information. Um, I have another family member who I'm going to obfuscate just some details, but I have another family member who um, struggled with pornography, and they got in trouble. Like they got caught, they got in trouble, and it was a tense situation. And even in that moment, like I just went in and I started sharing with this person, like, hey, like these thing that you did doesn't define you. God still loves you, and it's not up to you to like try. It's up to you to like connect to Him, have a relationship with Him, and let Him work through you and claim His victory and all. I don't even remember what I said, but like what I remember is this person's eyes, and I could just see just for like half a second, like instead of them getting condemned for making the mistake, they got a loving picture of God and they got encouraged in who they can be in God. And it just clicked. And so for me, it was just like, now I have something to give.
Hmm.
So it was before the contrasting the story with my brother, like I didn't feel like I had anything to give in that situation. fast forward 2, 3 years later in a situation where somebody needed to be encouraged and I was able to encourage them. And so like for me, like again, like my legalistic mindsets was like, how do I make sure I'm saved? And then how do I make sure other people understand that I'm right so they can also be saved? And now it's like, now I just need to, like, if there's somebody to share with, great. If there's not, okay. I mean, God is always going to put somebody in your place to share with them. But like, I had like, I would have moments like I'd go to the grocery store or Walmart and I would just be, and this is back when I was legalistic, and I would just like be overwhelmed with like, there's probably 300 people in this Walmart. How am I supposed to reach all these people? And I had this concept of like I have to take them from lost all the way to saved, and they have to be an Adventist, and they have to be keeping all the commandments, and they got to go to church and Sabbath, and all the things that go with that. Like that was like my mindset is I have to take somebody from here all the way to here, and like that's not true either. I think there's very few people that God's going to put in your life that you'll take them a really big part of the journey. I think that a lot of times you're just going to, most of the time you're going to sow seeds, and then sometimes you'll get opportunities to reap.
Hmm. No, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So after going through wave one, you're like, man, there's something that I have to share now.
I like had something to share. Somewhere in there, I remember listening to, and then Wave 2 came out. I would remember being really excited about the Tyler Morgan story. Um, and and then there was some time in there Jonathan was mentioning a book called Bob Sorge or something like that. Something about the secret
Secrets of the
place.
Secret Place.
Secrets of the Secret Place. But in the video that I was watching, like he didn't say the name of the book. And so like I went on the Wellesley Wright website and his phone number was there. And so I just called him and I was like, hey, you don't know me, but I was watching this video and you're talking about this book. What book is it? And he was like, wait, what? How did you get this number? I said, it's on the website. And he was like, oh, it should not be on the website. And he was like, where are you? And I was like, I live in Oklahoma. And he was like, I'm in Oklahoma right now. He was in Tulsa for a wedding. I don't know whose wedding it was, but he was in Tulsa for a wedding. And I was just like, I was awkward and nervous. And I really just wanted to know what the name of this book was so I could go buy it on Amazon. And so I was like, yeah, but what's the name of the book? And so then he told me, and I was like, okay, thanks, bye. And then I realized like afterwards, like I think about it sometimes, like I should have drove to Tulsa and just go to talk to him. I don't know if he was available, but I should have offered like to buy him dinner or something and just like figured it out, but I didn't.
That would have been, I'm sure he would have been cool with it. But so
Yeah.
secret that's funny that his phone number was on the website. That was the early days back then.
Early days.
Figure it out. So Secrets of the Secret Place. It's a great book. Have you listened to it on audio? I think it's actually Bob Sorge's voice, and his voice is so weird on the Secrets of the Secret Place. Maybe it's not his voice. But it's a powerful book. I
Yeah.
love that book.
I struggle with finished books, but I think I got like, is this kind of built up to be like a weekly kind of like devotion kind of thing? Like you do,
Yeah,
like, I feel like a chapter a week would be appropriate. I
yeah.
think I got like 10 or 12 chapters in. Um, but
Still good.
it was good. It was good stuff.
So this is Wave Two's come out. So this is probably the middle of like 2020 sometime.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember who it was before, after COVID.
Yeah, it's probably right before.
Yeah.
So then what happened then?
Um, what happened then? I think I got really excited about it, and I think that I got really excited about it, and I was like, uh, what happened then? Yeah, okay. I mean, I was really excited about it. I think I shared it with Diana. I think she was like, "Oh, okay, this is cool." Um, and then I think fast forwarding it like into COVID. When did you guys start the Death to Life Bible study?
Probably started that in 2020, probably 2021.
Okay, so I started going to that. We started going to that. Diana and I, and just kind of, we'd go to that and share it. And then like August 2021, we both got like super sick with COVID. It was really bad. Um, I think we got on the study while we were sick with COVID. I don't know, but that was a long time ago. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to share. I think that wave two, you know, expanded it. I like the emphasis on testimonies, on hearing other people's story. Like I think that's kind of where this podcast kind of got its start or its idea or the seeds of it, and how important that is. I haven't listened to all the episodes of the podcast. I'm sorry to say that, but I aspire to. Diana listens to a lot of them. She listens to them on two speed a lot of the time, which I don't feel I don't feel like this, like, it just seems too fast to digest everything that's going on.
It's all
Um,
good.
but no, I think from then until now, I think I've just been like, I live with a lot of peace. And I think that, um, when I come into contact with people, that like my first thought is I just need to encourage them. My second thought is they don't have to think I'm right. Uh, it's not my job to make them think I'm right. I just get to share with them. I get to talk about it, and then yeah, I don't know.
So
It's just been tons of fun.
I have this idea that nobody who's legalistic knows that they're legalistic. Um, when did you realize that you had been really legalistic? And then, yeah, answer that first, and then I'll follow up.
I I think that I don't know. I think it was really gradual.
Hmm.
I think a lot of stuff that I was trying to do fell off quick, as far as like being a 12th degree vegan and,
A
you know,
12th
12th,
degree
12th
vegan.
degree vegan. Yeah. Just water and air. Like, but, and a lot of just like I don't know, a lot of like stuff. Like at one point I thought competition was bad. At one point, like there's this book, I don't know if you and I have talked about it or not, but there's this book called The Creeping Compromise. I don't know if you've read it before,
I've
but
heard of it.
like, yeah, don't read it. But like there's some stuff in there. I was like, the first book that I read, it was okay. And I started reading Creeping Compromise, and then there was this chapter about like why mixed swimming is bad, like why men and women shouldn't swim together.
What year is this book written?
I don't know. I'm not. My phone's in front of me. I can't look it up right now.
What is it, like in the
Probably. I mean, probably got
90s
to be
or
the 80s
80s?
or 80s or 90s. But I remember like when I was in legalism, like I was like, all right, this sounds like it's gonna be tough, but we're gonna have to figure this out. And then like looking back at it now, it was just like that's ridiculous. Like that's not well, ridiculous is probably that's not a reason. I That's not reasonable.
It's okay to call it ridiculous.
It was a little ridiculous. Um, but like I think like again, I think so when I don't know if I had a moment of epiphany. I think it was just like I think things would just slowly kind of slough off, and then like looking back at it, I'm like, oh man, yeah, this was rough.
So
Like
yeah,
I,
that's my follow up. Was it hard to not be legalistic after hearing the gospel and understanding what Jesus had accomplished in freeing you from sin?
oh, can you ask that again?
Like, did you try to not be legalistic after that? Or was that just a natural response to receiving the gospel?
I don't think it's hard for me to not be legalistic. I think it comes back to like a theme that we talked about earlier, where I just have like these moments where my conscience will like catch me. And so like if I hear like if I'm interacting with somebody who still has legalistic tendencies, but like they speak about something in like a passionate and like in a put together way, not a ridiculous way, but in like a passionate put together way. Like I feel like sometimes like either some imposter syndrome kicks in or some lie kicks in where I'm just like, maybe I should be doing more. Maybe I should like, and then I have to be like, no, like no, like this is not, it's not, It's not always realistic. Example, in height peak legalism. Um, I was an elder at my church, so I either preached or taught Sabbath school once a month. I we had a small group, which was really good. Even in the midst of our legalism, the small group was really good. But we had a small group that met weekly, and then at work, I was like leading out in slash like facilitating 2 Bible studies a week. So 3 Bible studies a week, preaching or teaching once a month, and like I didn't feel like I was doing enough.
Hmm.
I didn't feel like I was like I need to do more. And then I didn't realize like the balance that you need to have with when you have a family. And so like I would drag them like we went to Virginia once to go because one of the speakers that I really like listening to like was there. And so we drove to Virginia uh so we could go listen to the speaker. Um and just like we didn't miss church. Like we always had to go, and like wasn't being very good at like being diligent at like making sure Diana had everything she needed. She was stuck with Isaac a lot of the time. I guess Chloe came around in 2019, so she would be kind of like stuck with them. While I had to be up front doing something. When I was not up front, I feel like I was more helpful, but um, not always being an attentive husband. And so I think that like yeah, I just didn't understand my responsibility well at the time. I don't know. I forgot the question.
So let's go back to yeah, you're cutting out all the drum beats. If you get to minister to this guy, how would you minister to this guy?
Which guy?
The guy
Oh,
who doesn't
Micah?
want the drums. Yeah, you, Micah. Micah circa 2017, something like that.
So I know exactly how I would do it because someone did it to me. Um, uh, I have a friend, his name is Kevin, and he's a pastor, and he would just listen to all my ridiculousness. And like I don't like he would just listen to all my ridiculousness. That's all I can say. And like he would give me opportunities to preach at his church even though I was being ridiculous.
Hmm.
Like I don't think I was ever like super out there, but like he I and like I don't know if he was just providing like cognitive dissonance, like, hey, this is your idea, but how does that agree with this other idea that you had? How does this, like systematic, almost like relational systematic theology, like, hey, this and this, how do these things work together? If this is true, why is this? If this is true? And he would just like, he would just hang out with me, he would just talk to me, he would just spend time, he was just encouraging me. It was, I don't know, that's what I would do. I don't think they're like when somebody feels very strongly about something, there are very few one-liners or one conversationers that you can have with that person to pull them out of whatever, to convince them opposite of what they feel strongly about. And so I think that's where that's something I actually think about a lot lately. It's just like, what is the right amount of, and that's where I don't even know. That's where I think going back to just encouraging people, introducing them to Jesus, let Jesus figure out what they need to figure out. You don't need to like figure out what they need to figure out. But I think that when someone's in that, I think maintain the relationship as long as it's a healthy relationship, and just be there to talk to them. And as long as they're willing to listen, as long as they're showing progress and listening to the things that you're sharing, I think that's what you have to do. I think it just takes time.
Man, I love your heart, bro. I love, I think ever since you've been coming on the Death to Life Bible study, I've just seen a real heart for the gospel. And so it's been, this is going to be episode like 224 or something like that. It's been a long time coming, but I've seen your good works and I'm glorifying our Father in heaven, man. So thank you for coming on and sharing your story. It's a blessing.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.